Hey, it's John Lee Dumas of EO Fire, and it's The Entrepreneurial You, the show for dedicated and passionate Caribbean entrepreneurs seeking daily inspiration, brought to you by author, speaker, and award-winning entrepreneur Heneka Watkis-Porter. You must be prepared to ignite.
It's something I try to remind myself of every day, is that I live in one of the most accessible and dynamic times in the history of humanity. And so I think we sometimes lose that in the middle of all this stuff, because we just think about what we've lost or what we're losing or the difficulties in front of us, and we forget about the opportunities. And to me, and I gave this advice to my YouTube audience just yesterday, to me, there's no better time than when the world shuts down to hit the gas, start something new, or press forward hard on something you're already doing. Because right now is a time when many people are either working less, working differently, and trying to figure it out, or maybe not working at all because either they can't or they're just not sure what to do. So that's an opportunity for people who have real ambition and drive to do something maybe new, do something more. This is a time when they're faced with probably more free time than they've ever had before.
Hi, this is Heneka. I'm so glad you took the time to stop by today. In Jamaican parlance, Wagwan. Me glad say a dial. This episode is sponsored by HenekaWatkis-Porter.com as well as the Jamaica Stock Exchange. Now on HenekaWatkis-Porter.com, you can visit us for blogs, resources, books, online podcast courses, podcasts, and more. If you are new to the Entrepreneurial You podcast, be sure to check out past episodes with guests such as John Lee Dumas, Patrice Washington, Seth Godin, Richard Branson, Amy Porterfield, and a host of other game changers.
We needed to raise capital, but our experience with local financial institutions was that they were cautious and slow to act, and interest rates were far too high. We had real concerns about financing our business through outside equity investors and the possibility of interference. Could we get a fair valuation for our business? We had our own ideas about the business and its value. Should I go the traditional route of bank financing, or should I try the Jamaica Stock Exchange? So we made a call and experienced transformation of our business through conversations. I'm John Mafood, CEO of Jamaican Teas, and we're listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange.
Give us a call today at 876-967-3271 to begin your transformation through conversation. We want to see your company listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange.
And now, here's today's episode. The internet and online communication is the window into your world, but real life, in-person connection is the door. Rasheed Ogunlaru. Welcome, my peak performer. How are you doing today? It is episode 163 of the Entrepreneurial You podcast. And of course, I'm your host, Heneka Watkis-Porter. Today's episode is with Joel Young. Joel has been working as a solo entrepreneur since 2013 and has used his skills in the fields of animation and video production to start his own business, jumpstartvideo.net. In just a few short years, his business grew from a side job in the corner of his bedroom to a thriving business that now generates 5 figures per month. And he did this through online gig platforms like Fiverr.com, where he's a top-rated seller and award-winning super seller. Today, our conversation will be even more relevant given the global pandemic that the world is experiencing right now. So I'm really looking forward to talk to Joel about how we can coronavirus-proof our businesses by leveraging online opportunities. Welcome, Joel.
Thank you, Heneka. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Before we jump in and get right into our topic, have you ever visited Jamaica?
You know, I have not, but I used to live in South Florida, so I wasn't far when I lived down near Miami.
Well, you know, you just put a nail in your coffin because you weren't far, yet you have not yet come. But anyway.
I promise next time I get close. I'll make it all the way there.
Okay. And we consider that Kingston 21 anyway. So, it's like it's a part of Jamaica. It's so near and so similar in many ways, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Very true.
So our topic today, and so relevant, coronavirus proof, coronavirus proofing your business by leveraging online opportunities. There are so many opportunities now, and even, with the shift to remote work and stuff, we're going to talk about that a little. But before we get there, I want to find out from you, what inspired your love for video production and animation?
That's a really good question. I didn't realize it until just recently, but I look back at my life and I have been making videos pretty much since I was a kid. My parents can pull out old VHS tapes of me making fake commercials with my younger brothers. One of our most famous commercials was Rob's Reindeer Repellent. It was an infomercial for an old hairspray bottle that we turned into a bottle of reindeer repellent to get rid of those pesky reindeer around Christmas time. And I used to make fun little videos in school all the time for extra credit. And looking back, realized that I've kind of been doing this my entire life without even knowing it was preparing me to do it as a career in the future. So obviously, I'm a very kind of visually oriented person, and I gravitate toward the medium of video. And I think it's because video is just so powerful. We can communicate emotions. We can communicate thoughts and ideas and feelings through film and short video. And obviously with YouTube becoming really kind of a mainstay in our culture, that whole dynamic, that whole phenomenon of YouTube has changed the way that we relate to video really forever. And it's kind of trickled down into things like, now Facebook and LinkedIn and TikTok and Instagram and Twitter and all these platforms that we're on. They're all really based around this idea that YouTube started long ago, which was online videos that are easily shareable, not only help to inform, but entertain and really are kind of drawing us into more of a short format of entertainment as time goes on. So I think it's something I've always been interested in. I just didn't realize it until one day I woke up and was doing it for a living.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to get to that because that was exactly my next question. So it's as if you're in my head. But you talked about the reindeer thing. And for many of us, from the tropical side of life, we don't even think that it's reindeer is a real thing. Like we just think that, it's just a Santa kind of. So right. When you said, like to ward off reindeers, I'm like, oh, that's a real thing. Yeah, I forget, All right. So you jumpstart into, you talked about your beginning and your love and how that came about. Now, share with me at what point do you realize, hey, realization hit that this is not even just a hobby. I can actually make a living from this. At what point did that happen?
Well, it actually happened by accident. I didn't intend or set out to get into video marketing or production or animation. It all just happened kind of one foot in front of the other through situations and scenarios where doors opened and I walked through them. It really started seriously, and I'd always done it as kind of a side thing here and there, dip the toe in, like to make fun videos. But back in 2013, I started a side hustle, if you will, in the corner of my bedroom doing voiceover work. I would record radio spots or maybe, voice pieces for presentations or maybe phone system recordings for businesses. And I was doing that on gig platforms, and specifically one of the platforms I was selling on, the way that you advertised your services as a voice actor or whatever else you offered was to make a little video of yourself and introduce yourself to the world and tell people what you would what you'll provide them with. And so I did that. I started selling voiceovers, and within just a few weeks, I had customers coming to me saying, I don't really need a voiceover, but would you shoot a video for me? And would you be on camera for me? We like your ad video for yourself. Would you do that for us? And initially my reaction was, no, I don't shoot videos. In fact, I don't even have a camera. I shot that on my phone. Sorry, I can't help you. And then after I sent that very first response, I immediately went, wait a minute.
Why did I do that?
Yeah. Like what just happened? Like, get that back. So I literally waited about a day, and then I emailed the person back and said, you know what? I think I can do that. It's going to look exactly the way mine looked. And that is exactly what he wanted. I'll never forget it. It was for an asphalt company. They they covered driveways and roads and stuff like that. So not exactly riveting content, but they asked me to make a little video to intro their company. And I did. And before long, I was actually making quite a bit of my living as an on-camera actor for these little business videos, things that would be posted on social and YouTube. I was a spokesman for about 5 years. And that really kind of jump-started me, no pun intended, into the video marketing space. And once I was there, it became a natural connection to start saying, okay, what's hot in video? How can we help people expand their video marketing kind of repertoire? Because people were coming to us saying, can you do this? Can you do that? Once you gain the trust of a customer, they're with you for a long time. And so we just followed the path into animation by having people ask us all the time if we provide an animation. And so eventually I stopped saying no and started saying yes. And now we've got a thriving business. I got a team of 4 people that work with me on this all right here in the States. And we do video marketing materials of almost any and every kind. We do explainer videos, motion graphics. We still do spokesperson videos, even though I haven't personally acted on camera other than my YouTube channel for about 5 years here. But yeah, it's been super fun and exciting, and just kind of a one foot in front of the other process that led us to where we are today.
And your actions have reminded me a lot of what Richard Branson says all the time. Say yes and then figure out how to do it.
Exactly. I think that's a lost art in our culture and entrepreneurial community. I think we get so stuck on, I want to do this one thing, and we're very narrow in what we want to do, that we often miss the opportunities to say yes when things are presented to us that we hadn't planned on. So I started off my career saying no, and then realizing I could grow a business much faster if I started saying yes, and then, like you said, figuring it out along the way.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's so interesting because so many people, well, for myself, I can relate to saying a lot of yeses and then going out after and like, oh my gosh, what the hell did I just say? But then you figure it out, right? You figure it out because as an entrepreneur, it's like, it's almost in our DNA to be that kind of way, right? Because the answers are always there. So I want you to share with persons, particularly in this time, who are affected, their businesses, their offline businesses may be affected by the situation, right? With the pandemic that the world is faced with right now. How can you encourage somebody listening who has no idea how to restart, what to do? Like, their hands are up in the air and like, oh my gosh, woe is me. I'm a mess right now. Talk to that person with options and opportunities.
I mean, there is not a better time in the history of humanity to be alive than right now for an event like this. Because you think about an event like this even 30 or 40 years ago, heck, even maybe 20 years ago, you would look at an event like this and it would be handled drastically different, because our connection with the rest of the world, our connection socially, our ability to connect with people remotely just wasn't what it is today. And so we live in an amazingly fantastic time of opportunity to try new things, to connect with people and connect with a world full of possible potential customers as entrepreneurs.
Hold that point. Remember what you're going to say. And I have to interject here because I never even thought about what you've just said a while ago, that, there's never a better time, if there's one, for us to be faced with this pandemic. Because if it were like 20 years ago, can you imagine? We're not able to communicate as quickly. We're not able to move and quickly transform offline work into online spaces. Like, I can't even fathom what this pandemic would be like had we not been in this time, in this season. So thank you for pointing that out. Continue.
It's something I try to remind myself of every day, is that I live in one of the most accessible and dynamic times in the history of humanity. And so I think we sometimes lose that in the middle of all this stuff because we just think about what we've lost or what we're losing or the difficulties in front of us, and we forget about the opportunities. And to me, and I gave this advice to my YouTube audience just yesterday, to me, there's no better time than when the world shuts down to hit the gas, start something new, or press forward hard on something you're already doing. Because right now is a time when many people are either working less, working differently and trying to figure it out, or maybe not working at all because either they can't or they're just not sure what to do. So that's an opportunity for people who have real ambition and drive to do something maybe new, do something more. This is a time when they're faced with probably more free time than they've ever had before. You know, when I started my business on the side, I was still working a 9-to-5 job, and I had to teach myself how to work after work, how to develop that internal motivation to say, I've already worked a whole day. What now do I do on the side? And I think that is something that can be cultivated in a time like this, where we say, okay, I've done my normal daily thing, but now, if you're quarantining yourself, like many people where I live, you're not allowed to go out. The bars and the restaurants and the movie theaters are closed. They're telling us only to go out for essentials. And so you're at home with a lot of free time and a lot of opportunity in that computer that's sitting on your desk. You know, you can reach out to the world. You can learn something new. You can do almost anything if given enough time. And for many of us, we've just been given a giant gift of time to refocus, realign, maybe start something new. And it is truly an opportunity to jump out there and get going.
Wow. Again, you keep, sharing with us so many interesting perspectives. Like, this is a gift of time that we have been given. And, when things like these happen, all we need to do is shift our perspective, because naturally something unknown happens and you're not able to explain it. And, there are so many emotions that are tied around it. Confusion happens, anxiety happens, and, blame, and, you shift blame and you're angry. But after you've done all of that, yes, allow yourself to be that and to go through that. Just a second, right? Just for a second. Yeah. And after you've gone through that, recalibrate, shift, and recognize there are so many opportunities that are presented right before your very eyes. You've been gifted with the gift of time. And I love exactly how you said it. So with all of that perspective right now, I want to get into some of the tips on growing a location independent business that you can share with us. But before we do that, I want to spend a little time getting from you the journey. Yes, we know that you started from your bedroom and we know where you are now with these clients and stuff, but kind of take us into some of the struggles that you've had, that kind of the emotions that are tied to running an online business.
This is something that I set out very purposefully to do. Yeah, I was working a very location-driven job in the past before starting this business, where I had to be in one place, had to be in an office, had to be in a location every single day, every single week for things. And it made traveling really hard. And so my motivation was I wanted to travel. I wanted to show my kids the country that we live in. I wanted to get out there and be mobile, be location independent. And so I was going to start a business that would allow me to work and do those things. And so I set out very purposefully to do that and kind of develop a business around that. And so I think kind of becoming location independent or kind of, the laptop entrepreneur, it doesn't just happen by accident. We have to set out and say, what are our goals? Not only what do I want to do, but why do I want to do that? There has to be a reason because it's really, really hard work to build something around an idea. That my motivation is I want to be able to work from home. I don't want to have to live in a specific place. I want to be able to, work with my clients with only a laptop and an internet connection, or maybe you want to get it down to just a phone and an internet connection, whatever it is. You have to have a goal first, because that goal will keep you reminded of why you're doing and what to do along the way. So
before you go into because you've already gone into some of the tips and so on, but before you go into that, I kind of want to get a sense of the the journey for you, right? Share
Sure.
like even some of the challenges and the struggles that you've had, and the highs, the lows, and those points in between, and then we can segue into some of those tips that you've already started to go into.
Yeah, certainly. Well, there's a lot of highs and lows when you go from working with people to essentially working disconnected from people, and I think that is the biggest thing that I've learned in the journey, you know, working at home, location independent for 7 or 8 years now. I've learned that you've got to really figure out how to deal with that when it's happening every single day, you know. So I struggled in the beginning with how to be home a lot, how not to have that human interaction. How do I get the interaction that I was normally getting when I was, you know, going to my regular job? So it's certainly been difficult at times to figure that out. It's also been difficult to figure out where to work in my home, or I traveled for a while, almost a year. I traveled in an RV with my family. I've got a wife and 3 kids and a little dog, and very small quarters when you're in an RV all the time, and figuring out where to work was almost as hard as anything else. So I think those were things that once I figured them out, this kind of mobile or location independent lifestyle became a lot easier. But yeah, certainly it was hard for me to figure those things out in the beginning, and just getting into a rhythm that kept myself sane was really, really, really important.
As you talk about rhythm, because that's pretty important. I see a lot of, things on Instagram and Twitter and all over the place with persons who are having to now homeschool their children, work from home, do whatever home, and they're not used to it. So talk about, maybe, the idea of rhythm, because even, you're used to going out, maybe you quit your job, but you're used to be going out, and now you're here in your space. You don't have that human interaction, as you mentioned. So how does one get into that rhythm?
The only way you get into a rhythm is just like any other area. It's by practice. And I think being in the situation that you're thrust into with this whole, quarantine pandemic, atmosphere, you have to practice purposefully in a daily rhythm so that it will become commonplace. And it's actually, I've read a lot of books about habit. It's funny how small of an amount of time it takes for a behavior to become a habit. And so, developing new rhythms is all about doing things consistently and on purpose, and making sure that, okay, if I want to be working by 8 o'clock every morning, I need to make myself get up, get a shower, get breakfast, get dressed, and be at my desk at 8, as though someone was holding me accountable to that. So those rhythms only come with practice. And I think that's really the only way to stay sane when you're working at home, whether it's temporarily or permanently, is to make sure that you hold yourself accountable to the rhythms that you want to set. Like I said, set goals for yourself, even small goals. Like, I want to make sure that my shower, my workout, my everything's done by 8 a.m. so I can start working, or whatever your goal is. Set little micro goals so you can celebrate those victories every single day. And then by the end of the day, have one big, huge victory of a productive day under your belt.
Wow, sounds interesting. And we should, take notes from that. So those tips you started, just keep going on them.
One of the things beyond setting goals and really just kind of knowing what your purpose is, whether you're working at home or just working, remotely, maybe at a virtual office somewhere, is making sure that you're getting all of the needs that you have, both socially, physically, emotionally, all of those things met on a daily basis. So for me, it's exercise is very, very important. And I have to, I walk my dog every morning, so I get in a couple miles walking. Then I like to run, so sometimes I also run the same day. I sometimes go to the gym, sometimes we'll work out here at my home, but I've got to get some kind of exercise in, or my whole workday suffers. And I think that's even more important if you're working from home, because you're moving less, and you don't have this walk from your car to the desk to the car. You're going out to lunch, or maybe you're climbing stairs, or you're walking down the hallway to talk to a coworker. whatever it is, you're just not moving as much when you're working at home. So, my house has a finished basement, so I will go up and down my stairs a lot. I'll go down there just to check on my kids, say, hey, my wife homeschools our children, so that's where their homeschool area is, kind of give myself some breaks. I often leave my house around lunchtime, noon, whether that's to go out and grab a bite to eat with a friend and connect with a person, or just to go, I'm not ashamed to say, sometimes I just go to Target and walk around, which I'm definitely not going to do right now because that would be a horrible idea. But you just have to develop some kind of rhythm to move your body, because if all you ever do is move from the bed to the desk to the dinner table to the couch, that's a lonely little circle. And it won't just affect your physical health. It'll affect your mental health as well. You'll have less clarity when you're not getting out of the house, when you're not connecting with other people, even if it's just saying hi to somebody on a walk or stepping across the street to talk to your neighbor or meeting a friend for a meal. Those things keep you sane when you work at home, when you work remotely. And so even though that's hard to do, even harder to do with this coronavirus situation, it's still achievable because, you don't necessarily have to come in contact with someone to, wave at a stranger going down the street or, hop out, take a walk and FaceTime or video chat with a friend. It has a lot of the same results, just staying connected with people while also moving. It's all very, very important stuff. And I find that when I'm neglectful of those things, I not only feel worse, but I'm less productive. I think my attitude is worse. My fuse is a little shorter. The list goes on. But whatever happens is a result of me letting go of my process and my rhythms. And it's my fault ultimately.
One of the things I know I look forward to in the days, after I've stared at my screen for the entire day, is actually to go walking. Like, it's so therapeutic, do an hour walk and be back. So I can truly relate to what you're talking about. Well, what do you know, Joel? Our time has almost come to an end, but you've created a lot of value, shared a lot, and I appreciate you sharing with me today. Now I'm going to ask you, to just share how might others get in touch with you. There's a lot we could have talked about, like, some tips on being successful on Fiverr and those other things, but perhaps we can talk some other time. So in the meantime, just share with my audience how they may get in touch with you.
Yeah, certainly. Well, I'm all over the internet, so if you can't find me, then I must be dead. But my website is joelyoung.me, and you can connect with me over on YouTube, on my YouTube channel called Fiverr Talks, where we talk to entrepreneurs about how to use the Fiverr.com platform to really start something special or grow their influence or grow their streams of revenue. I really teach the things that I've learned over almost a decade of being a top-rated seller there. You can find me on Facebook.com/joelyoung.me. But I'm just out there trying to not only get my work done, but also help other people that are trying to do this for themselves, get something started so they can take control of their work life, their career, and work the way that they want so they can have the life that they really want.
Absolutely. There's, as you mentioned in our talk, there's never a better time to be alive than today,
Absolutely.
You took it to another perspective, but to another level when you talked about had it been like 20 years back, what we do now. But even I've always said, like, we are living in such an amazing time. Like, everything is available just at the touch of a button, at our fingertips.
Oh, yeah.
And that's how we connected too. So thank you so much for reaching out on Twitter as well. And, it just goes to show that the internet is there for everyone. We just need to leverage it. We just need to use it safely and wisely, right?
Exactly.
And to our benefit. So thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Joel.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much for having me. It was an honor.
Thank you, my peak performer, for tuning in to this episode with Joel Young. I truly look forward to connecting with you next week. In the meantime, I just want to talk about a little about Podcast Power, the quick start guide to launching and leveling up your brand. I've been talking about it over a couple weeks now, but if you haven't gotten it yet, I encourage you to go to Amazon.com, or you can go to my website, henekawatkis.com, or I've created a nice link for you, bit.ly/purchase podcast power. And this step-by-step guide teaches you how to start a podcast, why you need one, how you can find guests, how you can make money, leverage it to build your brand, and so much more. I've shared a lot of my story there. So go check it out and let me know. Take a picture with it and send it to me. And when you've read it, leave a review for me. I'll be really grateful. Remember, you were born to win, but to be a winner, you must plan to win, prepare to win, and expect to win. What good?